Hello and welcome to The Radical. I'm Christina.
And I'm Nicole. On our podcast, we delve into the roots of metaphysical wisdom.
That's right, Nicole. Our podcast is all about exploring those fundamental truths and practices that nourish your mind, body, and spirit.
Yes, Christina, we want to make metaphysical concepts easy to understand and accessible, especially for those who don't have a ton of time to do all the research.
Right? We'll do the research as well as share our experiences and perspectives, hoping to empower you, our listener, to find balance and magic in your day-to-day.
Inspired by the essence of the word radical, proceeding from the root, let's explore the roots of well-being and self-healing together.
This is The Radical with Christina and Nicole, two metaphysical girls in the material world.
Hello and welcome to The Radical. I'm Nicole.
And I'm Christina.
Today we are talking about resolutions, self-love in action.
I love that title that you came up with. I just saw it this morning and I was like, that is perfect.
Yay, I'm glad you like it. I thought about it the other day and I jotted it down in our shared notes. I was like, I can't wait till Christina sees the title. So we're talking about resolutions today. Christina has a wonderful list. She has some history for us. I love learning the history. Why do we set resolutions? How do we set resolutions? We'll talk a little bit about our personal experiences. And then in the second segment, we'll talk about our personal resolutions for 2025. And we're revisiting the idea of boycotting.
I feel like they go hand in hand for what I'm working on.
Me too.
Boycotts, yeah.
Yes. And then we'll wrap up with 2 oracle cards at the end of this episode. So we are going to dive in with Christina's list.
What is a resolution? It is a firm decision to do or not do something. That's it. I resolve to do something, or I resolve not to do something. Resolution. When did this start? The tradition of making New Year's resolutions goes all the way back to Babylon around 4,000 years ago. And it was a New Year's pledge that had to do with, and I'm going to be talking about this a little bit more. Their new year, Babylonians celebrated their new year at the spring equinox, the vernal equinox, when the crops were planted. These pledges had to do with a prosperous and fruitful crop yield for that agricultural year. They had a 12-day festival where they would make promises, and it had to do with paying off debts. And it had a monetary theme, that it was a lot about returning borrowed things and paying off debts. But they believed that keeping these promises and, resolving their monetary issues and returning things would help the coming year be fruitful in their crops. So that was when it kind of started, and that was at the spring equinox. Then our other cultural ancestors, the Romans, they celebrated their new year in March, and they believed that the god Janus could see the future. So they would make, because that's like how we do it when we have a big resolution at New Year's, is that, are we trying to look into the future? But they would make promises and they would make sacrifices to the god so that it would ensure a good year for them.
What I thought about when you mentioned the Babylonians kind of settling and reconciling their financial situation in the spring, that's when our tax day is. That popped into my head.
I'll tell you what.
Just a little link.
Some things don't happen on accident. Some things, it's like inertia, right? But the habit in our Western culture of making and keeping New Year's resolutions became common in 1802 in Walker's Hibernation magazine, and the phrase first entered print in a Boston newspaper in 1813. And then it became just a cultural thing. Everybody has their own personal relationships with New Year's resolutions. But I do want to mention that there's a few different cycles for the year. There's the agricultural New Year, the spring equinox, which I just mentioned in Babylonian. And then we have the astrological New Year, which Nicole and I have been discussing at length because we've been doing the birth charts, and the astrological year also begins with Aries in the spring at the spring equinox. We did a podcast on the Wheel of the Year, and that New Year is at Samhain, the end of the harvest, October 31st to November 1st, which is the cross quarter day between the fall equinox and the winter solstice. So that is called the Witches' New Year or the Pagan New Year. Now, because we're coming up to it, the solar New Year is the winter solstice, which we are quickly approaching right now, Nicole, you and I, as we record this, because that is the shortest day of the year. That is the least amount of sunlight. And then when the sun rises on the 22nd of December, that begins the solar year. We've got our calendar year, which is the 1st of January. Now, if a year isn't your desired length of time, I think you mentioned rhythms later on in the podcast, but we also have lunar cycles. 28 days is a cycle of the moon. So if you need a smaller amount of time for a resolution, don't overlook using the moon cycle to help you, because you start your resolution at the new moon, which is dark, and then you watch the moon get bigger and bigger and bigger, sending you more energy until that 28th day when it's a full moon, and then it's complete. I really like the idea of that for helping you get started on a resolution path. It doesn't have to be the whole year. You can start small.
I like that too.
Mm-hmm. And then we have our Western calendar months. I love to start something on the first of the month and then watch the days, you know what I mean, go by. If you're a visual person, crossing off the days can be so beneficial when you're working on something, right? And then talked about the lunar cycle. So the Wheel of the Year is also going off of the agricultural year, but it's also the solar cycle. But you could also use the solar cycle, the Wheel of the Year, the spring equinox, the cross quarter days, and then the solstices to help you organize your year of change or resolution. Because you have the quarters of the year to rest, to plant, to grow, and then to harvest. You can kind of look at your year that way, especially coming up to Yule, the shortest day of the year. This is our planning stage and setting our intentions. So you could use the work of the sun and, the energy of the seasons to help you get going. Because if you're doing a exercise routine, or if you want to add in steps, it's kind of hard to do that in the winter, but you can start planning it and getting the intention ready for when the weather shifts, that you can move into the next cycle of your commitment or your resolution. So just a couple little things there as we talk about resolutions and the different cycles of time.
It makes me think of the saying that you can always start your day over. You can start your year over. We'll talk more about the mechanics of setting a resolution.
Yes.
But I love this idea of having the sun or the moon as your resolution partner in crime to help you harness the energy to change and to walk your path. I like that.
Yeah. And the seasonal energy, when it's cold, when it's hot, when the leaves are changing, we can use all of that to help us, to help remind us and to reinforce us. But Nicole, do intentions work, or do resolutions work? 44% of Americans make a New Year's resolution, but only 31%, and these percentages are percentages, but only 31% of people stick with the promises they made. And 81% fail by February. So
Aww.
I know. And then the four most popular types of things that people set for resolutions have to do with physical well-being, monetary or money, exercise, like the physical body of exercise and weight management, and then saving and planning money for the future. Those seem to be Americans' top two desires for change entering new time cycles.
I used to work at a fitness studio, and the difference between December, January, and February.
Oh, that's right.
It was always slammed in January. And then by February, you're kind of back to the normal volume. It is kind of a bummer because you do watch people fall off and they have a good intention, but it's these underlying mechanics.
I'll tell you what, it's hard. It's hard. But can you imagine how much space in our brains would be freed up if we could stop worrying about these things we want to change and just start doing them? Like if you want to save money and you're worried about money and you're thinking about it, but you're not doing it, you're thinking about it. So if you just did it and you did it for a month and then 2 months, and then you could start to see your savings grow, and then the third month and the fourth month, and then it becomes a habit, you're not thinking about it anymore, you're doing it. Then you have more brain space for your passions, your hobbies, your favorite things. We could actually get out in the world and do stuff if we stop worrying about these things that we can change. We just haven't started changing them yet, or haven't started doing it yet, because we brush our teeth. Generally, most Americans aren't overly concerned with tooth decay because we do it. You refuel your car. Generally, when you run out of gas, you just do it because you have to. Why can't we apply those things to the other things that we want to do to make change in our lives? It's just a habit that we have to get started on.
Right.
For me, if I have my travel mug, and whether I walk out of my house and it's empty or full of coffee or tea, I've got it and I'll use it. But I've got to carry it with me out of the house. And if I have my bag of almonds, if I have that healthy, appropriate snack, I'm good. I will not make a purchase of a plastic bag or a plastic cup for something else if I have those two items. Do you have something that sets you up for success when you are out in the world?
I travel around with 2 tote-sized reusable bags. They just fit right in my purse. And when I'm out, and where we live, we don't have to buy bags yet.
Yes.
They
Not
are
yet.
handed out like candy.
Or like receipts.
Yes.
They're handed to you automatically. Yeah.
Yes. So if you don't have the needed supplies with you, you can't make that change. And another one, kind of like your travel mug, it's my water bottle. If I have my water bottle and if I'm staying hydrated, the temptation to get an afternoon coffee, like you said, or, something while I'm out and about decreases.
Even water, even a bottle of water, or I want to drink water. And if there's a fountain there, I generally am not going to put my face in the fountain, but I'll fill my cup up with water if I have it. I'll drink tap water if I have to, so you just need that vessel. Why do we set resolutions? To have a sense of control, because we want a better, more fulfilling, happier, healthier. We want more time. We want more space. We want a life more in line with our personal desires. You want to know the biggest reason why I think, in my opinion, why we set resolutions?
Why?
Because we're hopeful. We're
I
full
like
of
that.
hope. We hope for a fulfillment of our desires and to manifest the things that we want. And that is what these types of New Year's and lunar and sun cycle resolutions are all about, a hope for what we desire. How do you set a resolution? Well, they can't be unattainable or too generic. Like, I want to work out a lot or I want to be healthy. What does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be something a little more specific, because I find when I have very vague or very ambitious goals, I start making deals with myself because it's not defined.
Mm-hmm. It's really easy to do that.
So we might be thinking too big, doing too many things at once. And what is the why behind it? It's not that I brush my teeth every day because I'm supposed to. I brush my teeth every day because I don't want to have a painful dental procedure in the future. Right? And I mean, it's a habit now, so we don't generally think about it. But isn't that why we brush our teeth and take care of our teeth? A painful, expensive dental procedure. We just don't think about that because now it's a habit. Maybe having the why about why you want to bring your travel mug, and it could be money or it could be health. But the bigger picture is also helpful.
Mm-hmm. The values that you're tying to that
Mm-hmm.
behavior. When you're looking at your why, in my experience, if your why isn't for yourself
Mm-hmm.
or for your value system, if it's instead something you're doing to make somebody else happy,
Or because you saw somebody else do it and you don't have a personal connection to it.
mm-hmm, that tends to be when my success rate
Yeah.
is lower.
But don't let perfection get in the way of good.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be too ambitious. Start small. Saving $1 a day is still $365 a year. Wait, did I get that
Mm-hmm.
right? 365?
Yes. Unless you're talking about this year and it's 366 because of the leap year.
See, that's an extra dollar.
Yeah.
And then multiply that over years or whatever it is. It still adds up. Small steps make huge differences, but it doesn't have to be 100% perfect. I know you and I have talked about when you start something or stop something, and then you have this energy behind it, and it's very exciting. But then it turns into like this on and onness every day. I want to take 10,000 steps every day. Even getting my new puppy, I have to walk him all the time. Do you think that sometimes I'm like, I don't want to go outside right now? The on and
Mm-hmm.
onness, even of having something that you really want and you start seeing positive effects, it can get a little mundane. The shine wears off of it,
For
right?
sure. For sure.
So here's the question for you, Nicole. Do you plan cheat days on your resolutions?
Absolutely not. I, first of all, do not like the word cheat day or the
Yeah.
phrase cheat day.
Yeah.
To me, the word cheat implies wrongdoing. You're
Mm-hmm.
doing something you shouldn't be doing. You're doing something shady or underhanded. For me, I like the term a rest day.
Yeah.
That is way more compassionate than oh, like my body is exhausted, so I'm going to not exercise today and rest. Calling that a cheat day to me is not being kind and compassionate to
Mm-hmm.
yourself. So I have a different term for it. And with, if you're, changing how you eat, if you have a new diet that you want to implement, I would still call it a rest day and not a cheat
Mm-hmm.
day. You're allowed to, this is a little bit further down in my notes, but occasional non adherence is fine.
I mean, that's a part of life, honestly. We're still living life. We still live in this material world.
Right.
We can't shut
And
ourselves out.
and if you are generally eating healthy most of the time and you have one Gatorade or one Diet Coke,
No.
you're going to be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. You're going to be fine.
And that kind of our mindset and how we approach these things and how much kindness and compassion can that we can give ourselves through the process, I think, is so important and can help make us
Mm-hmm.
successful. And I did want to mention Christina saying save $1 a day because that's simple. Starting small is so great because even if it's a small amount of money, you're building that neural pathway.
Yes.
And then when you want to start saving $10 a day or $20 a day, the behavior is already ingrained, which
Mm-hmm.
is so cool because you started small and you were successful. And then when you raise the stakes, you more easily maintain that behavior.
Yeah. It's finding where to start and what works. I don't do cheat days because for me, I cannot use the thing I'm giving up as a reward. I have a reward consumption issue. So if I'm trying to not eat, if I'm trying not to have Diet Coke or Diet Soda, I can't cheat with a Diet Soda on a set number of days of not having it. That does not work for me. Likewise, if getting so many steps a day is my goal, having a day where my reward is not doing the steps is not, that doesn't work for me. The day of rest, the travel day, the I'm run down and the soda's right here, so I have it. I just let that be. It's like Nicole said, it's fine. If I'm traveling and I don't get my steps in, I'm traveling. It's fine if I was on a plane all day. It's fine. I'm doing something. But that's not a reward or not a mistake or something that I missed out on or that I get to reward myself with later. I have
Mm-hmm.
learned that I cannot use what I'm giving up as a reward on those days.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
That does not work for me either. There's a quote or a saying, create a life that you don't have to take a vacation from.
Yes. Yes.
But if you take that principle, set resolutions that you don't need to take cheat days from.
Exactly.
And if you need to rest, absolutely, rest is
Yeah.
crucial. But if you are setting resolutions that feel very hard and you need to take a break and you want the thing really badly, it might be a clue that you need to adjust your approach. And
Exactly.
I think we're just ready to dive into segment 2 because this just
We're
segues beautifully
we're there.
into my notes.
Yes.
They are a bit of a flashback from our 5th episode, The Power and Benefit of Routine. So, this may sound familiar, but a UK study found that habit formation ranges from 18 to 254 days, depending on the complexity of the habit that you are implementing. You could have cues or other habits you already have
Mm-hmm.
be a cue for your new habits. I mentioned this in the 5th episode. One of my goals at the time was to drink water before I had coffee.
Oh.
So that tends to be something easier to form a habit around because I already drink coffee. I just want to have water beforehand versus adding a brand new habit of physical activity could be quite challenging. And I mentioned this a moment ago, occasional non adherence to a behavior will not derail progress. So, perfect is never the goal.
Mm-hmm.
Because what we want to avoid is what's called behavior relapse. Research consistently demonstrates that too much change
Yes.
too fast is likely to end without a positive result. So I would say almost the resolution we're setting is important, but our planned approach to that resolution is more important.
Yeah. You could set a groundwork that the water before coffee is step 1. Do that
Mm-hmm.
until it becomes a habit. And then what's your next step? Then what's your
Yes,
next little added self-care thing you're going to do for yourself that day?
I love that. Breaking it down and saying, let's say you do want to start working out 5 days a week. Well, maybe, but maybe it's a 30-minute walk 3 days a
Yeah.
week. And
Yeah.
then, like Christina's saying, it's a building block instead of a light switch
Yes.
approach.
Yes.
So, with sort of the science that I just shared in mind, I wrote down a couple of tips for setting resolutions. Start small. Let your resolution plan be smooth and gradual, like an airplane taking off,
Hmm.
which was exactly what Christina was just saying. My second tip is wake up an hour earlier.
Mm. You can get so much done in an hour, especially in the morning for me versus the evening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Morning time is more productive for me than evening time.
Looking back at our notes from episode 5, I think you found this, Christina. Some studies have proven that our cognitive functions, like memory, focus, and analytical reasoning, are the sharpest in the early morning hours.
Yes.
Hormones and our brainwave state
Mm-hmm.
upon awakening are geared towards memory, focus, reasoning. Another reason to wake up an extra hour earlier because your brain is literally primed
Yes.
to do the things. Plus, it's quieter, generally fewer
Mm-hmm.
distractions. I was thinking for myself, like maybe that's when I need to try to do my reading. The things that you tend to
Mm.
push off that you feel are really important to you, that's what you want to spend that hour doing. You want
Yeah.
to dedicate that time to your resolutions, your personal growth, your passions, your creativity, whatever you want to dedicate your energy to. And tip
Yes.
3, always do your best.
One of the 4 agreements.
One of the 4 agreements, be kind to yourself. Each day we're different. So is our energy.
Mm-hmm.
What can I feasibly accomplish today based on my health, my energy, my mood, my mindset? When you do need a rest day, how kind can you talk to yourself about that? Can you nourish yourself, nurture yourself? Can you just be incredibly kind? In the past, I have beaten myself up when
Mm-hmm.
I don't do the thing that I say I'm going to do. And that doesn't help at
Yeah.
all.
I have this thing where I like to have multiple days in a row of, okay, getting 10,000 steps in. And I use my fitness tracker. And then that one day I don't get the steps in, I have to have a full on conversation with myself about it's not a big deal. It's fine. Just because you missed one day doesn't mean, you know, that nothing matters and I've got to start over. We all have these different personality traits. And if you're the person like me who likes to have this build up or this, oh, I meditated 50 days in a row and then I missed one day, I have an emotional reaction when
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that happens. And I have to
Yeah.
be in that space of self-love, and I need to talk myself down that
Mm-hmm.
it's going to happen. It's
Mm-hmm.
going to happen. It's hard. Oh, we talked about this with habits, to do your daily yoga practice or your daily meditation practice, that there's this thing where there's a point of pride to say, I have done this for 90 days in a row.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine. But don't attach your success to that number.
Right.
And if you have an issue with a number, don't do it every day. Do it every other day and you never get attached to the number. Like, that's what I have to do. I
Mm-hmm.
cannot, like, because I'll get too attached and then I'll start cutting corners, and I'll do a 1 minute meditation where I'm not really focused on it just to get that tick on that day. And that is not what we're supposed to be doing.
Right.
So realize what you need to take care of yourself while you're trying to set intentions and stick with your intentions. You got to figure it out.
Yes. We are in Capricorn season, and I wondered, what would it be like if we thought about our resolutions as devotions? This
Aw.
is such a Capricorn lesson, to show up every day. And showing up might mean making that decision, like, today's not the day I'm going to go outside and run 3 miles. I'm not feeling my best. So I'm going to have my rest day, and I'm going to make sure I eat healthy and hydrate and create conditions for my rest and recovery, because our bodies know what to do. They just need the right conditions.
Mm-hmm.
So make your rest day the most epic rest day ever, and then get back to it tomorrow. Showing up every day, looking at where we're at, what we
And be
need.
nice to yourself about it.
This is self-love in action. And then aligning our resolutions with a why, like Christina said. And Capricorn is about our legacy. So that might be another element of your resolution setting, is, why am I doing this? How does this fit into my legacy and what I want to leave behind? How does this fit into my present day value system? So just another level deeper, aligning resolutions with something bigger than yourself.
Yeah. All right. Do you want to hear some of my resolution plans?
Yes.
Number one, and I talked about it already, travel, mug, and tote bags. No excuses this year for me.
Boom.
No excuses. And if I don't have my mug, guess what? I don't get that coffee that I think I want at my local coffee shop. And my a lot of the places I go for coffee, because I'm trying to stay small and local, often they will put the coffee right in my mug. Like, I can take it in there and fill it in my local
Mm-hmm.
places. But anyway, travel mugs and tote bags, no excuses. Plan ahead, have it, and do it. I think I've got my diet soda thing under control. I've been working on that since our last travel together, Nicole, that I haven't
I'm
had
really
any.
proud of you.
Whew, I am. It's every day. It's a
I
daily thing,
understand.
and I'm really happy. My digestion is great. My skin is clear. All the things are going really well. My appetite is fine. That diet soda just doesn't work for me. I think I want it, but then I have all these side effects. The other thing, this is a big one. I don't know if you and I talked about this, and I might have mentioned it, but I've been working on no cold beverages with food, which is
Mm-hmm.
a Ayurvedic principle. I am tailoring my diet and exercise to fit the stage of life that I'm in and the amount of movement and exercise I'm going to do to equal how much I'm going to consume and how I want my digestion to go. I'm going to follow principles that align more with me. I'm not at a stage in my life where I'm going to a physical gym for 2 hours a day. I'm finding the Ayurvedic principles to be very much in line of where I am right now in my life. So I read, I research, I've got books, I go to retreats, I go to, places where Ayurvedic principles are applied, and I'm gathering them and starting to apply them to my daily life. No cold beverages with food is a big one because of my digestion, and for me, keeps my fire burning in my digestion, which is what I want. I want it to be optimal.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other Ayurvedic principles, and this is what I got to work on. We have 5 senses. And there's a Ayurvedic principle for each of the senses.
Ooh.
Yeah. Taste, tongue scraping and oil pulling. Smell, neti pot and oiling the nostrils and massage.
Hmm.
Touch is the daily oil massage on your joints and body and through your hair, which also goes with that gua sha principle of the stone and then the body gua sha stone, like oiling and toning the body that way for lymphatic drainage. Eyes, there's a rose water rinse for your eyes, and then ears, oil and massage of the ear canal. So those are 5. Now, I would like to do those 5 within 7 days. So once a week, all 5. That's my small. I am not going to think that I can do all 5 in one day. There might be a day where I do, but that is my resolution. And that hour early that you mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
I could just do like 15, 20 minutes for most of these to get these as part of my weekly routine.
Yeah.
But I believe in the Ayurvedic principles. I've followed them closely. I followed them loosely. I've been on streaks of time where I was doing these more regularly, and I know they work for me. And I know they're good for me. But this year, I'm doing it. I really want to be caring for my body better and my senses better.
I feel inspired.
Good. Let's be
Those are good
inspired
ones.
together. Yes. So Ayurvedic principles, that is, we have a season of that coming up, listeners. So more to come on that. But it's natural. It's you taking care of yourself. I'm using sesame oil that I bought from the grocery store for my
Mm-hmm.
oil. It doesn't require fancy things that you have to buy frequently. There are a few initial startup things that you may need, but ultimately it's just a practice. It's not a consumption. It's you taking care of yourself.
I love that. One of my resolutions is also about taking better care of myself.
Yes.
And I like how we both have a similar resolution, but we've detailed it out quite differently. So you said like the Ayurvedic principles and the 5 senses, and my angle is from a nervous system
Oh.
repair angle and rebalancing the chemicals in my brain.
Ooh, I like that.
I personally feel that prescriptions are not my solution. I know they are available, and that is amazing. I feel that I have a couple more interventions to try
Mm-hmm.
before I go that route. It is very important to me to be independent of the American healthcare system
I like that.
to the fullest extent that I possibly can be.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not a system I want to be reliant upon in any way, shape, or form. And I felt that way for a long, long time. A lot of it has to do with my grandpa taught me a lot about health and taking matters into our own hands. So it was kind of
Yeah.
an idea that I was raised with, and I appreciate that. So when we take a more active role in our health and taking care of our bodies, to me, this means diet, exercise,
Mhm.
sleep,
Mhm.
all the things that are our basic needs, and giving
Yeah.
ourselves the nutrition and the rest and the movement our bodies specifically, I think, want and need. The exercise that your body wants is
Mm.
probably different from mine, and that's okay. But also, from this nervous system perspective and regulating the brain chemistry, it's also getting adequate sunlight, meditating, reducing stress. So I'm trying some different supplements. I'm trying some like magnesium bath soaks.
Mm.
Dopamine production occurs in cycles that are aligned with our circadian rhythms. And
Rhythms.
yeah, so I am really excited because we have a podcast coming up all about rhythms,
Yes.
cycles, and we're going to talk about circadian rhythm and other rhythms too. I really look back at the last 4 years, and I've said this before, but it's been a tumultuous time for me,
Yeah.
and it has for everyone. I am not unique in that, but it is like I need a month of being a hermit.
Mhm.
And I
That's
mhm
the energy of right now. Right now
mhm
is the sun is setting at what, 5 p.m. right now. This is a very reflective time, which is a perfect time to be hopeful and to set resolutions for yourself, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And then, with that being said, my other resolution is to be more like Capricorn, which is committing fully and showing up every day no matter what. I
Oh,
maybe have gotten a little too good at uh listening to my body, but then letting myself maybe wiggle out of a commitment. Maybe I shouldn't. I'm listening to my body. Is that the excuse or is that
yep.
real? Like, another one with Capricorn is not rushing.
Mm,
Sometimes I get into a mode where I want to get everything done, but I
yeah.
want to remember there are other forces that I cannot see at play. And sometimes doing nothing is the best thing, giving things more time to evolve on their own without me micromanaging it. That commitment with Capricorn, it's being steadfast, it's being diligent, it's being devoted. It's not rushing through your 1 minute meditation to just check the box for today.
Yep.
It's letting yourself be in that no distraction zone, in that quiet. It's letting yourself kind of like fortify. And then it's about action. It's about taking
Yeah.
care of yourself and taking action. So I just have a new appreciation for Capricorn energy, I think. And
I
so I'm
love
excited
that.
that Capricorn is the zodiac sign accompanying this new year.
That's the energy we can be harnessing.
Yeah. So, what are we boycotting in 2025? Single use plastic,
Mm-hmm.
straws, lids,
Oh,
bags.
yes. All of it.
This is a big one.
I mean, this thing with like stopping for a snack at a gas station. I love a, a bag of crackers, like Cheez Its, plastic bag.
Mm-hmm.
Tic Tacs, plastic container.
Mm-hmm.
So many
Everywhere.
things and I'm not saying you can't have these things, but there's a better way to buy them and a better way to consume them than a single use packaging, a single
Mm-hmm.
use purchase.
When we're like Capricorn and we're not rushing, we can take a moment to plan
Yes.
ahead and see where we're going and
Put the
say,
almonds in a bag
yep,
and put it in your purse.
yep. My other boycotts, I am really going to try to boycott Amazon and Starbucks.
Okay.
It's going to be inconvenient.
Yes.
It is probably going to be more expensive. But I am at a place where I don't like the alternative.
There you go. And change is hard. If it was
Mm-hmm.
easy, we would have done it already. We have to make these hard choices for the
Yes.
future we want for ourselves.
Yes. I would rather see a small business get my money rather than a large, massive, powerful corporation.
Yes.
If you feel the same and you don't know where to start, there is an app. We are not affiliated with them. They don't even know I'm talking about them on this podcast today, but it's called Goods. The app icon is a blue square with a white microphone. It is free. Goods Unite was started in 2017 to help consumers more easily align their everyday purchases with their politics. So
Oh,
you can come in here and see, you can type in Target, Amazon, Starbucks, and you can see where money is being
yes.
funneled.
I like it. I'm going to check that app out. I haven't had a time to look at it, but I'm very, very excited that our very good friend sent this to you, right? Because it was like, I wanted somewhere to go to look at this information. And then you sent me that. I was like, oh my gosh, universe heard me. I was looking for tools to find out this information. So boycotting, I want to do all the same as you, Nico, with the Amazon and the Starbucks. I need to do some research about where I buy gas, where I buy groceries, and where I buy like pantry staples. Do you know what I mean? Like, where do I
Mm,
buy my rice? Where am I going to buy my honey? And I'm so lucky to have a health food store and farmers markets readily available to me, but there's also some things I still need to buy. So I'm hoping this app will help me find that out. But in a nutshell, I am boycotting consumerism, and how that relates to me and how that makes sense to me is if I go to the zoo, I'm having an experience, but I feel like buying a snack from the zoo snack station is part of my experience, but it's not. That's not the experience. And generally, you think that that money or that purchase is going towards the overall keeping of the zoo or whatever, but that those hot dogs and hamburgers came from somewhere else. And that's what they're selling anyway, and I don't eat those things. But how to consume and have experiences without actually physically consuming something without buying a food or a drink or a beverage, which is tied to single use plastic and which is tied to companies that are not related to the zoo or not
mm-hmm,
related to my community small local event.
mm-hmm,
Consumerism tied
mm-hmm.
to plastic, single use plastic, and single use experiences, I guess, how I would say it too. A big one for me is how I'm going to travel, because travel is full of single use plastic, and I am making a commitment to not to use as little as possible when I'm traveling. And then the chain stores, like everything that you said, as far as it's going to be expensive, it's going to be inconvenient, I'm going to make mistakes, I'm going to be stuck places where I have to go somewhere I don't want to buy something, but that's okay, because my commitment is to boycott as much as possible the single-use plastics and the consumerism in place of experience. Experience is what I'm doing, seeing, and hearing, not what I am eating and not what I am drinking.
Yes.
That's what I'm boycotting. Yeah. Go to the movie, watch your movie. You do not have to eat popcorn and drink soda to watch that movie. But that was a part of how I lived. That was how I experienced it. And I've got to change that. That is what I'm boycotting. That I have to. Yeah.
And I think I'm willing to give up a little bit of my time to plan ahead and figure out where else can I purchase this item. I just know we're going to keep talking about this. I think we should see what the universe has in store for us in terms of messages.
Yes, this is perfect. Message from the universe.
I picked 2 cards today. And our first card from the Love Your Inner Goddess Oracle deck by Alana Fairchild is the Peacock Priestess. If you feel impatient for something to happen or worried that you are not accomplishing all that you want to achieve quickly enough, then take heart. The universe is working with you, not against you, to bring your dreams to life. Even times when not much seems to be happening are part of this creative process. Balancing out other times when energy becomes active and intense. What will be most helpful for you in your dreams right now is to rest. During that pleasurable rest behind the scenes, some spiritual magic is going to be created. Sacred ritual. Imagine, feel, visualize, or pretend that the universe is holding you gently and safely in its hand while you lay back and relax. Our second card is Wild and Free. The card says all good things are wild and free. This is an important time in your life when you are being guided to lead from your heart, even if it makes no sense to you or anyone else, or if your mind screams at you with fear and doubt. Don't give up what your heart is telling you. Give yourself the time and space you need away from the noise and demands of the world and other people so that the quiet, sure voice of your heart can be heard. Then take courage and act on what you feel. Your heart is wise and worthy of your trust. Place your hand on your heart and say, "My heart, you are wild and free. I trust you to guide me. You know what is right for me and what is not meant to be. You are honest and wise. I love you." Take a deep breath, then imagine that you can breathe out through the front and back of your heart now. Be gentle and relaxed. This allows your heart to let go of pain, doubt, or insecurity, and remember that it is wild and free.
Thank you, universe. I like that Peacock Priestess card.
Both of those felt relevant.
And I'm sitting here with my hand on my heart. I did that exercise while you were doing that, and I'm like, that feels good too. That feels really good, because that is the message of the universe, but a message of resolutions is to hope. We do this because we're hopeful. So remember that. Have hope. Just follow it up with action, which is our title.
Self-love in action. And don't forget to rest and be nice to yourself.
Yes. Don't let perfection get in the way of good.
Thank you, listeners, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, whichever one you're celebrating.
We'll talk to you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Radical. The Radical is written and produced by Nicole and Christina.
Listener questions can be emailed to us at theradicalpodnc@gmail.com.
Our Instagram is The Radical Pod.
Music by Van Horton. His Instagram is Van Horton Music.